The Avengers were Earth's mightiest heroes, a team forged in battle and united by a common goal, protecting the world. But in 2016's Captain America: Civil War, that unity was shattered. Captain America and Iron Man, two of the Avengers' greatest leaders, found themselves on opposite sides of a conflict that tore the team apart. But who was right? Was it Steve Rogers, the unwavering symbol of freedom, or Tony Stark, the genius who believed accountability was necessary for survival? Today we're diving deep into this debate to decide who was truly right in Civil War. The conflict in Civil War begins with a tragedy. During a mission to stop Crossbones in Lagos, Wanda Maximoff inadvertently causes an explosion that kills civilians. This incident is the latest in a series of collateral damage events tied to the Avengers: the Battle of New York, Sokovia's destruction in Age of Ultron, and now Lagos. Cut to clips of the Lagos explosion and the aftermath, with news coverage showing the public's reaction. The world's governments respond with the Sokovia Accords, a United Nations-backed agreement designed to place the Avengers under global oversight. The Accords would require the Avengers to operate only with approval from a UN panel, effectively taking away their autonomy. This proposal divides the team. Tony Stark supports the Sokovia Accords, believing that unchecked power is dangerous and that oversight is necessary to prevent further tragedies. Steve Rogers opposes the Accords, arguing that giving control to governments would compromise the Avengers' ability to act independently and responsibly. This ideological divide sets the stage for one of the MCU's most compelling conflicts. Let's start with Tony Stark's perspective. At this point in the MCU, Tony has been on a journey of self-reflection and guilt. His time as a weapons manufacturer in Iron Man led to countless deaths, and his creation of Ultron in Age of Ultron caused catastrophic damage in Sokovia. Tony is haunted by the consequences of his actions. One pivotal moment comes when a woman confronts Tony after a presentation, telling him her son died in Sokovia during the Avengers' battle with Ultron. This interaction crystallizes Tony's belief that the Avengers must be held accountable. He sees the Sokovia Accords as a way to ensure their power is used responsibly, with oversight to prevent unintended harm. Tony's argument is rooted in pragmatism. Without regulation, the Avengers are a loose cannon, and the world views them as a threat. By agreeing to the Accords, Tony believes the Avengers can maintain their legitimacy while preventing further public backlash. It's a compromise, but one Tony sees as necessary to avoid greater conflict down the road. On the other side of the debate is Steve Rogers. Captain America's opposition to the Sokovia Accord stems from his deep distrust of government control. Steve's experiences during Captain America. The Winter Soldier played a huge role in shaping his perspective. In that film, he uncovered that SHIELD, the organization he once trusted, was infiltrated by Hydra, a terrorist group manipulating events from the shadows. Steve's fear is that the Sokovia Accords could put the Avengers under the control of corrupt or self-serving governments. He argues that the Avengers need the freedom to make their own decisions, guided by their moral compass rather than political agendas. As Steve famously says, the safest hands are still our own. Steve's opposition to the Accords is also deeply personal. When the Accords are introduced, his friend Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, is still a wanted man for crimes he was forced to commit while brainwashed by Hydra. Steve fears that signing the Accords would prevent him from protecting Bucky, whom he believes deserves a chance at redemption. The brilliance of Civil War lies in the fact that both sides of the argument are valid. Tony's desire for accountability is understandable. The Avengers wield incredible power, and the collateral damage they've caused is undeniable. The Sokovia Accords are an attempt to prevent further destruction and maintain public trust. However, Steve's concerns about government control are equally valid. History has shown that power can be abused, and Steve's personal experiences with Hydra have made him wary of placing too much trust in authority. The Avengers' independence, he argues, is what allows them to act quickly and decisively in crises. The tension between these two ideologies, accountability versus autonomy, is what makes the conflict so compelling. Neither side is entirely right or wrong, and both Tony and Steve are driven by their genuine desire to protect the world. The ideological debate comes to a head when the Winter Soldier becomes a central figure in the conflict. After Bucky is framed for bombing a UN meeting, Steve defies the Accords to protect his friend. Tony, still loyal to the Sokovia Accords, pursues Steve and Bucky, leading to an all-out clash between the two factions of Avengers. The airport battle is one of the most iconic scenes in the MCU, with Steve's team fighting for freedom and Tony's team fighting for accountability. The fight is both thrilling and heartbreaking, as heroes who once stood together now battle each other. However, the conflict takes an even darker turn when Tony discovers the truth about his parents' deaths in a devastating twist. It's revealed that Bucky, while under Hydra's control, killed Tony's parents. This revelation pushes Tony over the edge, turning the ideological conflict into a deeply personal one. In the brutal final battle, Tony's rage drives him to try to kill Bucky, while Steve fights to protect his friend. The fight ends with Steve disabling Tony's suit and walking away with Bucky, leaving Tony broken and the Avengers fractured. The events of Civil War leave the Avengers divided, with massive consequences for the MCU. Steve's team goes into hiding while Tony remains aligned with the government. The rift between the heroes weakens their ability to face future threats, as seen in Avengers: Infinity War. When Thanos arrives, the fractured Avengers are unable to mount a unified defense, contributing to their defeat. Despite their differences, both Steve and Tony ultimately reconcile in Avengers: Endgame. Tony returns Steve's shield, and the two work together to undo the damage caused by Thanos. In the end, Tony sacrifices himself to save the universe, and Steve retires, passing on his shield to Sam Wilson. While Civil War tore them apart, their shared commitment to protecting the world ultimately brought them back together. So, who was right in Civil War? Captain America or Iron Man? The answer isn't simple, and that's what makes the story so powerful. Tony was right in recognizing the need for accountability. The Avengers' actions have far-reaching consequences, and without oversight, their power could lead to even greater harm. The Sokovia Accords were an imperfect solution, but Tony's willingness to compromise showed maturity and a genuine desire to protect the world. Steve was right in standing up for autonomy. His distrust of government control was justified, especially after the events of The Winter Soldier. Steve's belief in the Avengers' ability to act independently is rooted in his unwavering commitment to doing what's right, even when it's difficult. Ultimately, both heroes were motivated by their love for humanity and their desire to prevent future tragedies. Their conflict was not about who was stronger or smarter, it was about how to best protect the world. The true genius of Civil War is that it didn't provide a clear answer. Instead, it presented two valid perspectives and let audiences decide where they stood. The film forced us to grapple with the same questions the characters faced. Should heroes be accountable to governments, or should they remain independent? How much control is too much? By exploring these themes, Civil War elevated the superhero genre, proving that these stories can tackle complex, real-world issues. The debate between Captain America and Iron Man remains one of the most thought-provoking conflicts in the MCU, and it continues to spark conversations among fans to this day. In the end, Civil War wasn't just about a fight between two heroes. It was about how people with different values and perspectives can clash, even when they share the same ultimate goal. Captain America and Iron Man's conflict showed us that disagreements are inevitable, but what matters is how we move forward. The Avengers may have been divided in Civil War, but their shared commitment to protecting the world brought them back together in the end. And while the question of who was right remains open for debate, one thing is certain. The MCU wouldn't be the same without this iconic rivalry. But what do you think? Was Captain America right to stand against the Sokovia Accords, or did Iron Man have the better argument? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Marvel deep dives.